Swifty taking a hook. Onslaught of Shadows going down. Solar Flare is going to take out Mike really quickly, but a TP from Victor is going to get him into the fight pretty quickly. It's going to be NWT, though, storming out this fight with 3 down so far after Yan Yan goes down. If Yan Yan goes down, that's going to be a shutdown. Traded by nobody just yet. So far, it's 2v5. Min flashing out. Going to trade Swifty. Zanya, that's going to inevitably delay his Riri.
Hang on.
Riri off to the side, Hex flashing over. Give Me a Reset's going to take the ultimate, trying to get away from it as he can. Krims is going to ulti on him, but Give Me a Reset's going to be fine. Swifty with the ulti on the 2 is going to try to give him as much HP as possible, but Ollie's going to be following his death as well. Riri and Yan Yan go down as well. And
about to engage. Oh my god!
And they're starting off with a bang. Swifty going into 4, tanking up a storm. Ulti is going to be blown on him like no other. He's going to get out almost alive. Flash from Slowbro is going to pick him up. Meanwhile, Give Me a Reset's DPSing as much as he can. Slowbro is going to trade with that. Ollie's going to pick it up with the Zenith Blade, but the shock blade or the shock damage from Zeri ult is so apparent, and Ollie can really decide where this game goes, and Krims gets a good ulti on to Swifty. It's going to start everything off. Valiancy taking low as well, but a good 3-man shockwave is going to turn it out for the better. Give Me a Reset is going to get the fight of his dreams, as the amount of shock damage from Zeri's ultimate is able to clear so much, and they're going to be able to get an ace for NWT.
Hello, folks, and welcome back. We have got our title card event, RLS, rapidly losing sanity versus Universal basic income. I am your friendly neighborhood Shoutcaster Sharikan, and today I have joining me the one who was once lost but is now found.
Yeah, absolutely. It feels really good to be joined by the king of FOS, our greatest and most legendary caster, the Doug King himself. How's it going, Sherry? I'm more honored to be here with you, since we haven't gotten to cast together in a really long time.
We have not. Timing just hasn't worked out. I am doing very well, and I am really excited for this matchup already. If we look down at those bans, we've gotten rid of the Urgot and the Mordekaiser, Darius and Trundle. Like, those are some major. There's basically just like shutting down the top lane in all these bans right here. And I know that on the lounge it was mentioned that Kiri was feeling really gross for playing Hullbreaker. So I guess they're just trying to be like, no Hullbreaker for you.
I mean, absolutely. I mean, with the Maokai being first picked up, that's an interesting pick. We haven't seen it in a long time. I'm actually interested to see where it is going to go. I mean, it is a top jungle support flex, I suppose. I mean, if you really want to go old school on it. But, I mean, I really like RLS's strategy. They know Red is a new top laner and may be uncomfortable on some of the more aggressive picks. So, pinching his champion pool and trying to see where he goes when he isn't able to get his highest priorities is definitely a smart decision.
It is, and we can already see that they are expecting a very beefy top laner by picking up the Vayne. So Universal Basic Income is basically just trying to shut down any form of engage with those 2 picks right there. The Scion is still on the table, so that might be something that gets picked up here. That is a very strong split pusher, and we don't see a split push response yet on the side of Universal Basic Income, but with a comp that they're building so far, it's so team fight heavy that Scion can't really afford to be pushing.
Yeah, no, absolutely not. And this definitely does pinch your options for where RLS can look to go. I mean, now that they are into this kind of a heavy CC composition already with Maokai and the Annie and the Vayne, this is a lot of CC in all these 3 champions, but this is also extremely low range. So, I mean, YUBI versus is a team that always really leans heavily on their mechanics and their ability to outplay other teams, and it looks like they're not shying away from that strategy today.
They are completely shutting out the top lane in this game. That is 8 bans total that are top lane picks, and it's just like, I have no idea what we're going to be seeing up here. They have like absolutely crushed the champion pools for both YUBI and Red, so it's going to be really interesting to see. I am liking, though, like the first pickup Jinx. She's not as strong on this patch as she usually is, but she's still a very strong choice overall as an ADC, and going into Vayne, she will have a bit of an earlier advantage until that mid game whenever Vayne just starts popping off really crazy. We do have the Malphite pickup, so that is a lot of CC that's going to be able to dive in on that back line, and if they can find the Vayne with a knockup, then basically she can get taken out of the fight almost immediately.
Yeah, absolutely. A lot of heavy CC. I mean, both with the Lulu polymorph, the charm, the sleep from the Lilia. I mean, there's a lot to go on a low range Vayne who's going to be trying to kite out and get as much damage out as possible. And it looks like they're going to send that Maokai into the top lane. So this is a matchup that we have not seen in a long time. I assume Maokai is still relatively decent into tanks. He was always one of the higher damage tanks and something he can kind of use his zone control and his Q to manage out his waves and make sure he's still safe. So oh, they're throwing it back. I mean, RLS has a very traditional composition that we've seen a lot in the meta, minus the Lilia, and then universal basic income is just all over the place per their usual arrangement.
Yeah, per their usual arrangement, I do like to disengage with the Janna, so that they are going to be able to avoid, like, if that Malphite does manage to find a target, just knock him out before the Lulu knockup comes in. I personally, I like RLS's comp a lot. I think that it is a very good opportunity, but we've seen YUBI pull out some absolutely crazy wins, so this is going to be one heck of a match.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, this is the showcase match for a reason, so I'm sure they won't let us down. And YUBI is a team that, you know, they always find a way to win. I mean, they definitely have their own G2 factor building up, but their early games are typically the bloodiest that we can expect. So, I mean, there's a lot of options to fight early for both these teams. I think RLS has drafted a very good composition, and it's just going to be whether or not they can punish YUBI for their lower range selections that they've taken.
It's going to be kind of interesting to see here. I'm trying to think what other so how do you think that this is gonna go? Like, I'm expecting I kind of want to see an invade, but I don't really see it like on their side. I think we're gonna see like that early kind of like 5-man scuffle, just showing off against each other, until eventually we do end up hopping in. Sorry.
Yeah. Yeah, I understand. Yeah, when it comes down to level 1, I mean, I don't expect to see any real aggression. I mean, neither of these teams has really good, consistent CC to lock someone down, and they're not going to... And none of these champions want to start their CC ability level 1. Maokai doesn't want to start his root. He would much prefer to start his Q or E. Annie, I mean, she can charge up her Q, her E, but that's the only way she can charge her stun early, and Zach obviously doesn't want to start with Elastic Slingshot, so... I mean, I think we should see a very tailored level 1, something that's going to be trying to protect the interests, because these junglers both aren't going to be something that junglers we expect to be hyper aggressive or invading a lot early.
Yeah, so it's going to be, I'm expecting this to just be an absolute banger of a match. How have you been, though, Found? Like, I know that it's like you said, it's been quite a while since we've actually had an opportunity to cast with each other, so it's I hear that you've been helping set up some other stuff as well on the back end. So hopefully things are going pretty well for you.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I'm setting up my own broadcast on the side, getting some help from FOS and their myriad of talented individuals to make sure I can, you know, do something nice for my school and for my my new position of employment here. And I mean, there's been a lot of stuff going on, and you know, I always come back to FOF because they just never cease to impress me, and how they manage to both do their broadcasts, do their animations, their graphics, their comics. I mean, these people put in a lot of blood, sweat, and tears for these players, and I mean, there's just a lot of respect that has to go out.
And there we go. Now we're hopping into the game. Speaking of side projects, the FOF Connect is actually a really interesting magazine. I don't know if you've checked that out. They've got some really awesome power rankings in there. And apparently they rated YUBI very high in the laning phase.
Yeah, they actually did. They rated them, I believe, 10 out of 10 in the laning phase and 6 out of 10 for draft, or 5 out of 10 for draft, something like that. I wouldn't personally agree with that. I think YUBI's strength is definitely more of their team play. I think their laners are actually the most exploitable part of their game, but it's, I mean, to each his own. But I think the way they've been playing early games and the fact that they've been kind of behind in the majority of them. I mean, if we kept stats, I'm sure that we would have definitely a lot of evidence of their goal deficit at 14 probably is not the best.
Well, the thing is like they're just so good at playing their matchups. That's one of the reasons why they're such a team that's so hard to beat, is they minimize their mistakes and they capitalize on their opponents. So it's going to be up to RLS, who have been doing an absolutely fantastic job of evolving over the course of this season so far. And so I'm really excited to see how they match up into this game right here. We do see Lilia starting topside, moving down bot, so probably going to be seeing a really early gank. I'm expecting like around level 3. Maybe just after getting Scuttle.
Yeah, actually, this is going to be something we should be expecting. I mean, this early push is going to be trying to go over for the Vayne. I don't expect the Vayne and the Janet to be able to get this. I mean, Jinx is just such a strong laner, level 1. It's very difficult to shove her out. So, but a lot of the focus is going to be on the spot lane and who's going to be able to get significant advantages.
I think you say that, but at the same time, checking out the damn fight going on in the mid lane, Civillock and Pengu Soul, that's going to be another matchup that we're going to have to keep an eye on, because a lot of these games lately, I've noticed the mid laners have had huge impacts with major roams, and just being able to influence the map all over just becomes really, really important.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Ahri is such a big skill matchup, and this is just
nice engage here in the top lane right now. Kiri getting brought very, very low as we see Maokai having to force from under tower.
Yeah, super tight. I mean, a bunch of damage coming out, but this is not a lot of damage that comes out from the Maokai early. I mean, once that Q is out, that's basically all of it. So it was very unlikely for a solo Q kill to come out. But I mean, the ability to play tank matchups is actually an underrated skill. And Kiri hasn't shown a lot of proficiency on her tank side, so it's going to be interesting that she's now opting into this. And I think tanks is probably where Red's most comfortable.
Red is definitely seems like he's very comfortable playing the tank top laner, where I compared him to Tuxedo Mask earlier on the lounge. I don't know if you heard that, where he shows up, does nothing, and they win anyway.
I mean, he's definitely bought stock in the UB hype train. You know? he's just following the train. Wants to make sure he's
right here. Kiri getting brought very, very low, fighting in that minion wave, but they're both just like kind of sitting. Unfortunately, both junglers are on the bot side, so they don't have to worry about getting ganged.
Yeah, but you have to wonder if this is really going to work out to Red's benefit, because he's burnt through his entire mana pool, doesn't have any more sustain left. So if Kiri's able to just get some poke, and once this level 4 comes in for her, she should be able to just sustain through the rest of this laning phase and not really be under too much threat from this Maokai.
Gets that level 4, like you mentioned. Right here we see War Leader, the Volibear main, who didn't want to be Volibear, although poor little Lulu right there getting knocked against the wall. Tefra getting brought very low. The Silver Bolt's coming out. The third shot finally does hit. It's going to be a flash from Jeff God Gamer in order to get the first blood coming out of their side, but that's going to be Jeff God Gamer going down for his payment. The Ignite came out as well during that fight. RLS War Leader getting a nice bit of damage on Bill the Pony. Bill the Pony getting taken down. Is that going to be flash for flash trade? And then we see that Utility Monster is going to get his passive popped. I don't know if RLS is going to be able to finish him off here. They're going to have to get a little bit close to tower than they want to be. And that is going to be a killing spree as RLS Fusion does manage to pick it up.
Yeah, that was really weird for Fusion. He looked like he was canceling auto attacks over and over. He's kind of scared to get too close to the tower range and gets herself executed. But 3 kills picked up for Fusion, so well done on that end. And Jinx is the win
in the meantime getting brought really low.
Yeah, this you know, tanks beating each other. I would be really surprised if Red does manage to kill her here. But I mean, the sustain isn't going to be coming through for a while, and the shield's here.
Is going in on this right now, and we see that Tefra is coming up right there. That's going to be the shield, allowing enough sustain for Kiri. They are going to be able to pick up that kill. Really good roam by the support for a very odd angle.
I mean, Tefra just walking up the lane, punishing Red. I mean, I honestly, you can't begrudge Red too much for dying to that. That's something you see coming. I mean, yeah, it is smart on Tefra's part to know that she doesn't have to be back in the bot lane yet, and it's good to be on the roam timer, especially now that a build opponent has just sprinted back to the bot side, and your Jinx is going to be able to catch this away for free.
Yeah, and then with that, we've got both TPs burned on the side top lane. So because they're not unlocked, it's not that big of a deal because it can't go to the wards. And we do see right now that Kiri using that gold advantage to pummel Red in the face. They are keeping fairly even in terms of health bars, but it's not a pool noodle fight in the top lane this time.
Yeah, Red is basically only has his base damage to come in, but Maokai's base damages are still pretty high. That's part of the reason why he's able to beat Malphite so heavy, but this is going to start turning.
Getting a nice bit of damage back and forth. The pummeling just continues in the top lane.
Yeah, as you can see, Malphite's already kind of getting to that level where he'll just beat the Maokai in the 1v1. So Red really needs to temper this aggression because this heavy trading pattern isn't going to continuously work out for him.
Especially now that Kiri has ultimate, so that is a lot of damage that they're just waiting to bring out. And as you can see, Lilia already kind of roaming up in that top lane direction, going to be cutting around the tri-brush, coming up behind them. So this is going to be the sneaky deep play as we have the knock-up coming in right there. The missed bowling ball flash coming out, and that is going to be a nice route as War Leader is caught under tower, taking 2 tower shots. Red barely getting out with his life, and they're trying to shove this wave in so that Kiri can just get a Q off. Look at this. Red, you should have just walked away, my friend, because there's nowhere for you to go.
That's egregious right there. I have no idea what Red was thinking or why he thought that he could catch that wave. I know it's a big wave to catch, and you don't want to lose all that CS, but you're 1 HP under the tower with Lily having a long-range spell, so just a free kill given over to War Leader.
We have 4 members of YUBI hovering around this Drake, and the bot lane is trying to threaten it. I don't know if you want to do this, RLS, but look, the rest of the team is on the way, so now they've got the sleep coming out. That is going to be a huge amount of damage coming up the Jinx, and she's already picked up 3 more kills. Is she going to get the 4th? Right there! Oh my goodness, already a quadra kill going, or only just a triple kill, because apparently Panguso stole one of those.
Yeah, but just once again, this is YUBI in another disastrous early game that they found themselves in. I mean, I do not know how they always can find themselves in these early game deficits. They do always manage to dig themselves out of it, but I mean, this is one of the one that's the most detrimental when it comes to their actual ability to come back and win the game, because this is 6 kills onto a Jinx, and even despite those nerfs that have come through, she's still one of the biggest hyper carries in the game. Very difficult to deal with. And I mean, other than the other than the Zac, who has a very easy time getting onto her, I mean, if she plays well with that Gale Force, there's really nothing that's going to be able to kill her other than that elastic slingshot.
I don't know how, but I have a feeling RLS got a hold of YUBI's Venmo and just sent them something over before the game started.
We cannot confirm or deny whether or not someone was forced.
I bet they spent $4.20 on this game.
$4.20, $4.20. I like it. You know, maybe they were looking for some extra wins somewhere else, but this is definitely not how YUBI would have hoped this early game would have been.
No, this is not the 10 of 10 laning game. I do want to say I like the aggressive play to get rid of the ward in that Tri-Brush. I don't know what it was with Tef just trying to do a little bit of just trying to kill the ward, but you have Jeff God and Bill just pummeling the wards, be like, no, we're killing these.
I mean, yeah, absolutely. And these lane states in this situation, I mean, Panguso should not die here.
Dive in. We have Utility Monster going in hard, managed to get a nice pullback onto Panguso, getting a good bit of damage. And in the top lane, we see that the fight has continued. Now we've got enough tank armor, tank items on the side of RLS and YUBI, so that basically this is now the wet poodle fight.
Yeah, absolutely. But there is still a modicum to tell which tank is doing better. And while Red does take this trade into a laning wave,
I think it's very clear which tank is doing better. It looks like Kiri is proving that they know just what they're doing in this top lane. They are a force to be reckoned with. War Leader getting caught out as he tries to take down a ward. He's going to have to flash away to avoid getting pulled back into the knockup. He is getting brought exceptionally low, but the Lulu coming in with the clutch wild growth, and that is going to get them kept alive. We have poor Jeff God caught in the Dragon Pit. He's not going to be able to get out of there. That is going to be a shutdown as Annie manages to take down the Jinx, and in the meantime, we have the rest of RLS finishing off of YUBI, while in the bot lane we have War Leader trying to stay alive, fighting against Utility Monster. This fight over here by the Dragon Pit still going. Bill the Pony somehow still alive and does manage to take down Lulu. We do see Utility Monster diving under the tower for safety. He gets brought low, and the passive is actually popped, and we have them now just trying to pick him off from under that tower. This is basically probably going to be another dive. War Leader looking for it, but there we see Jeff God coming back, saving his gel-based jungler, and that is going to be Panguso overstaying his welcome, getting knocked into the wall and getting shut down.
Oh my god, I did not know what kind of gods he's prayed for or how they're always managing to get these, it's this combination of this throwing the game with weird fights in the jungle, but then having them be thrown back to them by just mind controlling Panguso to stay in the jungle with Vayne walking up and no flash or Spirit Rush available. So, I mean, that's a lot of gold given over to Jeff God Gamer, who has managed to be this big carry despite YUBI's early game transgressions, and that does put him a little bit more comparable in this goal.
Ooh, that condemned snap was a little bit sus in my opinion, as Fusion getting stuck onto that tower like that.
Yeah, I'm not sure if that was just the Gale Force. It looks like that was the Gale Force from Jinx being canceled in the condemn, and then that just making it look kind of weird as she still gets jammed into the tower. But I mean, this game state has really kind of benefited Yubi in the last couple of minutes. They've closed what was a 3,000 gold lead at one point, and now it's back to a comparable 1,000, 1.6. So not the end of the world on their part, and somehow they've managed to bring the game back to a very even state.
It is a relatively even state, I would say, more than very even, but they have definitely started to pull back, and this is the problem with Yubi. You've got to be very careful about letting them get a foothold because they will grab on and claw away at your face like a cat.
I think, yeah, a cat's very fitting. I mean, it's some type of mind control they have on the other teams in the league. I don't know how they do it, but even Red in this top side, he's just been trading so aggressively, and even though he hasn't been winning all the trades, he's been utilizing that Maokai passive, maintaining those heals, and staying safe. And you see, he's opened up a pretty decent CS advantage, and that's that uncomfort that I was worried about with Kiri playing a tank.
Yeah, Kiri has only got 1 kill, but they are exceptionally far behind on the CS. In the meantime, though, we did see Zach appear in the top lane, so they knew that they could take this Drake for free. So with the Hextech Drake on the side of RLS, that's going to allow them to have some really good cooldown reduction, and an Ocean Drake's just going to be icing on the cake for them.
Absolutely. Now, a good invade on the side of Utility Monster, getting that red, getting that Gromp, really punishing War Leader for not checking his jungle. And now he's behind them with this Rift Herald start, so this could easily be very punishing, but it doesn't look like he's going to look to take his recall and just kind of seed this Rift Herald over. As you can see all that damage coming out for Fusion.
Yeah, exactly. You see all that damage coming out from Fusion onto the bot lane. Jeff God getting brought fairly low, having to back away. I do not think they actually saw Lilia on the Rift Herald. I know that they saw Lilia look to come into the topside jungle, but I don't think that they saw her start the actual objective. So that is going to be a nice sneak on their part.
Yeah, no, they didn't see Lilia on the Rift Herald. They just, I guess it was just both teams assuming that the other team wasn't doing anything. Because I mean, Lily's gonna find that all her stuff is gone, and here's Red.
No, Lily already knows that all her stuff is gone. Look at that, we got a nice bit engage here in the top lane. The charm's gonna come out as Red is gonna be caught. Maokai ultimate coming out as well in order to get the root. The ignite does manage to pick up the kill. Pangu Soul taking a tower shot for free. Utility Monster trying to help out, and unfortunately, Pangu Soul's corrupting potion is the only thing that keeps them alive, as that tower just didn't want to leave them alone.
Yep, gotta be careful with that. The burn from the corrupting potion that Ari had onto the Zac gave her tower aggro, letting the wave stack up, and that's a lot of damage on the Pengu Soul. Not gonna really matter so much because Pengu Soul should have been recalling to run back mid anyway, and this is basically the play they wanted. But this is a lot of gold and pressure seeded into the Malphite, and I'm not sure that's gonna give you much long-term benefit with both these AD carries kind of being relatively even at this point.
We have been wanting to see RLS become a exceptional, like the team that we have seen in the previous seasons, and this is the team that we have been looking forward to seeing. They have already cracked this game wide open. They have 2 towers, 13 kills, a 5k gold lead essentially at this point, and it's crazy.
Yeah, it really is. I'm very impressed with not only how they played this early game, but I mean they did have a couple blunders, a couple face palms, but other than like a few mistakes, they have managed to punish Yubi, and that's always the first step with beating Yubi is to punish them in the early game, take advantage of those early mistakes that they make, and then really try to translate that.
Well, yeah. Well, RLS had some face palms. Yubi's had a couple of face plants, I think. The craziness back and forth has been absolutely ridiculous. We got this engage up here in the top lane. Kiri actually brought a little bit low, but they are in the safety of their tower, so she's able to just kind of free farm, get that off, and then just kind of back away. With the jungle presence now in the bot lane, though, with that bot tower gone, I do like the rotations we see. It looks like Pengu Soul might be in a little bit of trouble, but this mid lane is getting threatened very hard by the Jinx and Lulu.
Yeah, absolutely. Jinx and Lulu this is a lane that they should have basically been winning at all points already. I mean, this is not going to be something easy for the Vayne. The Vayne is really in it for the scaling, but then she still gets outranged by Jinx, so can't really
nice engage in the top lane. Red trying to go in onto Kiri, trying to get something off, but only manages to take him down to half health.
Oh man, it's funny you keep getting baited by that. They're never killing each other, man. It's not happening.
I'm aware. There's a reason why I'm keeping myself tempered when it comes to these top lane fights, because I understand it's a wet poo noodle fight. They're not really going to kill each other, but they're just going to keep bashing each other over with these poo noodles, and somebody's going to get a nice big welt.
I mean, maybe. At this point, they're just padding their damage stats. You know, Malphite will be peak damage in the game. Maokai coming in second. So, I mean, just at this early game state, both these tanks are going to be really, really slow scaling. Now, it's going to be a lot on Fusion to make sure he stays safe. I mean, the flash ultimate from Civillock is a big threat. I mean, if he gets hit by any of this long range CC, he's going to die. So, I mean, they need Fusion to play smart.
Yes, he's going to have to make sure that they are positioned very, very well in these fights to come. There was almost an engage here in this bot side jungle. Right now, we see RLS clearing vision, looking to pick up this Drake that's going to be coming up here in about 25 seconds. And they're in a very good position to pick this up relatively easily or force a fight, whichever they'd prefer. It's kind of their objective right now.
Yeah, absolutely. But YUBI should really not contest this one. I mean, this is only the second Drake, 17 minutes on the clock, very slow soul if that was going to be the answer. And it's it's just a single ocean dragon. It's not the end of the world. But knowing YUBI, they may opt to fight it anyway, so we don't know. But it does look like they are going to give
they're
it
just going to let it go. There's no way for them to really contest this, like you said. Pangu Soul in the bot lane going up against this Jank, or this Vayne. Not actually taking enough damage for the silver bolts to pop off, and then once again we come back to the top lane and see health bars.
Yep, see, that's basically what it is. Just health bars.
Gamer going in there deep. He does manage to get the ultimate off, but the Rift Call Maker is going to block him right there, and he's going to get locked out. But the third silver bolt is going to pick him up a kill as he takes down Pangu Soul.
How depressing is that if you're an RE player where the Vayne face tanks your entire combo and doesn't die through Ignite? I mean, yikes, but it's still, that's a good solo kill for Jeff God. He did use all of his summers to get it, but that's a shutdown he picked up on the Ahri, and that is a lot of punishment coming on Pangu Soul, who had been on a very good clip when it came to at least their pressure in that bot side.
And then in the top lane, once again, we do see a number of members of RLS converging on this top lane. Red very smartly has a bunch of control wards up here in order to keep himself alive as he's making these pushes.
Yeah, really smart. And I just want to quickly take a note of this build coming out from Fusion. So this is definitely, I want to have as much damage and single target AoE damage as possible. That's what the Phantom Dancer says. Phantom Dancer is the highest DPS Zeal item you can go for. I mean, this isn't one where I would expect a rapid fire, but unless you're really, really concerned about Civillock one-shotting you with that flash combo, and you don't always want to be scared of that. But I do like Fusion's decision here. I do think he needs to be a big carry and a big damage source in these fights.
Yeah, he is going to need to be very, very careful going into this. I do like the bowling ball coming down the lane. Doesn't manage to find a target, but that's totally fine for RLS. They're just pressuring this mid wave. They've got basically 4 members here. Vayne is free pushing in the bot side, though. We do see Ahri going for that. They are spotted out by a ward, so they're not able to go in, so they kind of just wait. But I do like the strategy RLS has got here, where they're basically got these 4 members here. We got Utility Monster diving in, does manage to get a pull back. We get a nice big knockout right there. We got the Maokai ult, managing to lock a lot of people down. Utility Monster does manage to take out Fusion, and we do see the Drowsy coming out, and that's going to be a bunch of members of YUBI put to sleep. Utility Monster brought exceptionally low, but his passive is going to keep him alive, and he's in this fight still. And that was a huge fight for YUBI. But look at this, the fresh members of RLS, Pangu Soul and Tephra have both arrived, but YUBI is still pressuring this. Wild Growth's going to come out, but Lilia is going to still go down. That is going to be the Monsoon to refresh the rest of Universal Basic Income, and that was an absolutely fantastic push by YUBI.
Jesus, someone really needs to explain to me or write a thesis paper on like what god YUBI does to pray to have this happen. Why are you pushing tier 2 without your Lulu available?
Nice charm, managing to get Jeff and bring him down to half health and stopping his recall. And the ultimate from Jinx comes out. That is a nice barrier though to avoid a whole lot of damage.
Yeah, Shield Bow popped, and Aries will have the Spirit Rush available soon. But yeah, this is just like the consistent mistakes we see that happen against YUBI. People feel pressured. People feel that YUBI can always come back because they've built that mystique around themselves, and then they just kind of feed into it by playing too fast when they have their lead, not dotting their I's and crossing their T's. And when you really shouldn't have an opportunity where you're just able to get 3v4 engaged on without your support. And you know, Fusion really needs to be more aware. It's not just dodging the elastic slingshot. You know that the Q from the Zac is going to come right out. You need to be prepared to dodge that, because as soon as that lands, he just dies instantly, and that's all of your damage for the fight.
And with that, it's going to basically put UB back on the board. They're still really far down in terms of kill pressure. They're 4 kills down, but they're basically evening up this gold lead once again. So that 4.5K gold lead is now gone for RLS, and they really got to be careful now and make sure that they minimize their mistakes against UB.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's not even just the gold league that's really important for Yubi. Jeff God has spent so much time in the side lane. He's a level up on the Jinx now. He's probably close to 14. And this is the kind of things you have to take note of because 80 carry levels end up being very impactful, especially on a champion like Vayne who doesn't have much innate tankiness. Her being able to get those extra HP, those extra armor, that extra MMR from levels ends up being very, very important in these fights. And this is kind of why you can't really afford to be sloppy against a team comp that's pressuring like this.
We've got a Baron sneak going on right here. I'm not entirely sure about this call, but I like it. I like the aggression. They're basically baiting out the fight. We do see that the rest of UB has pulled over here to kind of join them.
Yep, Gromp is still available, so that is going to leave War Leader an opportunity to heal up. But this is going to force the mid lane rotation since they are seeming to elect to not fight this Ocean Dragon, but they're going to run straight back over to this Baron.
Yeah, they're basically making UB decide, what do you want, the Baron or the Drake? And unfortunately, the Baron's going to take a lot longer to go down, but they can just leave Zach to solo it. So he's just basically going to do that. Right there, we do have the Everfrost coming out from Ari to root red in place. The Maokai ult's going to come down as well. That's going to be a huge fight in the Baron pit. A nice tornado over the wall is going to allow them to pick up a kill. We do see that the rest of the members of RLS, though, on the backline, trying to pepper this. Red getting brought really low. Utility Monster has now joined the fight. Fusion is still full health as they are shredding through this tank right here. But unfortunately, an ADC is designed to die. And that right there is going to be Fusion taken down. That was a very, very interesting fight choice, and now that is going to be a Baron over for UB.
Oh my god, how does it keep happening? I mean, Fusion did a very, very good job in that team fight, trying to kite it out, trying to get as much damage as he could, get it all out. But, I mean, just that small mistake, Gale forcing in instead of Gale forcing back, misclicking on that angle, and then that really punished her because then she dies instantly to the Zac after that. And this is just one of those situations where, with your 80 carry being your singular threat and having a big, beefy tank line of this Maokai, of this Zac, who Ahri can't really pressure, this is not how you set fights when you have this type of team composition that you're playing. Your Ahri needs to be flanking, your Ahri needs to be pressuring this Annie and really not allowing that pinch on the easy target. So, I mean, with War Leader dying instantly, these team fights just did not even begin in a way that was going to be remotely positive for RLS, and they need to clean this up because this is just once again Yubi kind of just picking their enemy teams apart and getting advantages where they have no real business to.
And with that, UB has officially pulled ahead in gold. They've now taken over the lead. It's only by about 1,000 gold, but that is still huge, and that's going to be devastating for RLS. We do see the tanks in the bot lane duking it out back and forth. Baron buff, though, is going to allow Red to push a lot harder than Kiri is able to. We do see Vayne getting a little bit too cocky, getting caught out. They are going to be put to sleep and shut down. That is going to be Baron number 1 gone. Annie getting really close as well. Civillock is going to go down. That is going to be Baron number 2, and that is going to be the rest of RLS going in. They managed to pick that up. Fusion did fall during that fight, but that was a 2-for-1, and that means 2 Barons going down. But look at this, 600 gold for that turret. Is going to go over to the side of Yubi. That is going to be huge. They're trying to chase down this Maokai, but they really can't because he's just too beefy. Oh, Utility Monster coming in on the back line. He's going to go a little bit too far, though. He is going to get charmed, and that Monsoon was just a little bit too far back, but that is not going to be enough damage on the side of RLS Nord to get the kill. We do have Lilia getting shut down as Red is proving that he is a force to be reckoned with. I think he might have been insulted by my Tuxedo Mask comment, and he's trying to prove, hey, I can do stuff too. And look at this, in the mid lane, Yubi is continuing this fight, and they are actually managing to pressure this mid tower, but we do see that Pengu Soul is barely able to escape with just a sliver of their health. And in the bot lane, Fusion is trying to continue it. I don't think, though, that there's going to be the end of this fight now.
Yeah, once again, sloppy mistakes for RLS, kind of getting punished all across the map. I mean, Pengu Soul is taking his lucky stars right now that Zac wasn't able to pick up the kill with that last tick of the burn. And it's just, you know, it's just that pressure that UB puts on the enemy team. You know they can come back. You know they can team fight. You know if you keep making mistakes, then that they're always a way for them to get back into it. And I mean, no, at this point, it seems like no matter what way the early game goes, you know, those channel points should always go in YUBI because they've now managed to gain control, get themselves in a decent setup. Jeff Cobb is exactly where he wants to be in his item build and in his at 26 minutes, and it just really hasn't been the game that we expect from Fusion, who started off as such on a who started off so far ahead.
Yeah, he started off on such a high note and has unfortunately just not been able to continue that momentum, which in all honesty is very tough to do anyway. We do see that with those 2 Barons taken down, though, that is a bit of a ray of hope for RLS because that means that they've got 2 people they don't have to worry about pushing solo really, really hard on the Vayne and Civillock.
I mean, I mean, at least there's a lot of damage coming out for Fusion if they do not get picked. But I mean, this is really going to be on if whether or not War Leader at this point can make an impact. I mean, he does have a lot of CC, a lot of damage at this point. He's kind of been flying underneath the radar at this point. But with that double burn items coming through, I mean, he does have the potential to do a lot of damage.
He does. We see right now that this is a sneaky fight. 20 seconds till Drake is up. Both members know that it's going to put them on soul point, so this is one they both want to fight for. Tanks in the top lane both have TP, so they could be joining this fight at any moment as well. We do see that YUBI has kind of ceded river control a little bit, but unfortunately it's 3 squishy members versus a tank and 2 burst mages.
Absolutely. This is not good for Kiri. Kiri, you're 2 levels behind, and Fusion's going to get away.
Well, Utility Monster missing that knockup is actually going to be huge, but it's not going to matter as Tefra's going to be brought down almost instantaneously. We see Lilia going golden, does manage to stay alive. Pangu Soul is going to get absolutely crushed. Jeff God Gamer is just going insane as he just absolutely condemns every single member of RLS to the hell.
Yeah, fantastic play out of Jeff God. Once again, maintaining his edges on the fight, not really being pressured because his team composition doesn't really leave that much air to pressure the Vayne. And just Fusion just not unable to get the extra damage out, unable to get all of the autos to come through. She's just so much pressure coming from Zach. That's even when Utility Monster misses his engage. It forces Jinx so far away that she's just unable to get the autos on priority targets, and after Lulu dies, I mean, there's no wild growth, there's no shield, there's no amp that Jinx really needs to be able to hard carry these fights.
Yeah, like that attack speed was absolutely ridiculous on Jeff God. He managed to get a huge amount of attacks off almost immediately. Nice knockup, though, coming out as we do see Jeff God getting a little bit cocky. That's going to be a shutdown coming out. Blue turret is going to go down, though, and that is going to be Utility Monster trying to run away, but he's going to get bursted down, and he's going to get burned away by the Ignite. That is 2 huge shutdowns for the side of RLS. I'm not entirely sure if that was worth it for YUBI in that instance, because that is going to be Vayne and Utility Monster off the board for a few moments, but they do have such a lead, right? They did have such a lead that it's not the worst thing in the world.
Yeah, absolutely. But man, Fusion, you need to go. You need to go, man. This is Baron time. This is 10 seconds on the Baron, 2 people dead. You guys need to be ready to go straight for this. So that is what they're going to be the option that they are looking for. Baron is spawning, but Jinx is almost there. The teleport available for Kiri, who does need to get this solo XP. But this is the chance for RLS to really make an inroad in this game.
They are definitely looking to make that inroad, but at the same time, YUBI knows that's exactly what they want. They've already started pressuring it. They're already on their way. It's going to be a matter, though, of are they able to take this fast enough before Utility Monster is able to come in and smite steal it? I don't know. We do see the Maokai. The ultimate comes out. The Root's going to get Lilia. Lily's going to get brought exceptionally low. Tibbers is going to come out and burst them down. They're going to explode. That is going to be Red Team stealing the Baron Nashor. We do see right now Fusion was brought alive by the Wild Growth. They are very, very big. That is going to be the ultimate coming out. Rocket's going to is not going to do enough damage. We do see Ari getting completely exploded and taken down. Alexion trying to do what they can. Jinx gets excited, gets the reset, but it doesn't matter as we see that Vayne is already there, gets the triple kill, and that is going to be a huge cleanup for Universal Basic Income, and this could be the final push.
Yeah, this is long death timers on the clock. 14 seconds on to War Leader, 22 onto Pangu Soul. They're going to be the next ones available. But, I mean, this is a very, very slow push. Vayne is not the fastest tower taker, even with her attack speed. She doesn't build much base AD, so this should not be the end of the game. But there is a Demolish proc, so maybe this is 5 seconds coming.
It's a Baron Siege at the very least. They can probably get a couple of Nexus turrets out of it. War Leader is only level 14 to the rest of the level 16, 18th on the side of RLS. They've got a huge advantage in that right there. Look at that fight right under the tower. They don't care about the amount of damage. The Charm is going to come out in the Ignite as well, but Jeff God is going to stay alive. They still have the GA up, so they're still fighting under that turret. They don't really care about the damage. We see the ultimate coming out from Jinx. The rocket does manage to bring Bane to her knees, but she's going to get right back up. The fight's still going. We see them coming up, but the Jinx does manage to finally get the kill. In the meantime, the minions are pushing really hard. Fusion trying to finish off Red does manage to do it. That is gonna be a triple kill going over for RLS, but it is such a devastating push from YUBI.
Oh yeah, the base is in shambles. The Nexus is exposed. I mean, is there really anything that they can get off of this? And this is like, this is something I harp on a lot with a lot of these teams. I mean, RLS just needed to know where each champion needed to be. Why is Ari hitting the Baron? Her only job is to be zoning the Annie, pressuring with the Charm, making sure Annie can't walk up and just kill your jungler. And then the second that happens, then Civilox steals the Baron because it's a free steal because War Leader's dead. So, I mean,
and look at this.
The pressure's
Red
really
has TP. It is available. There is a ward inside the base. The most of the members of RLS are nowhere near their own base, and they are unaware of its existence.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it is an option. I mean, Maokai is probably the slowest Nexus taker you could possibly ask for. So unless like something really happens where you're going to need that, I don't expect that to be the angle for it. I mean, you need generally a high attack speed, high AD area P champions, but I mean, the option's there. You know, bull rushing the Nexus is always going to be an option on the table as long as that inhibitor is up.
It is, and we see right now the Drake's going to be up in about 40 seconds. We do have River Control is currently seeded over to YUBI. They've created a death brush. They're trying to suss out where the rest of RLS is. They have like this is going to be a huge fight here in a moment.
Oh, absolutely. And they're going to try not to face check the Annie. Annie is very important to the way this team fight is going to be executed. She creates a lot of space. If she continues to get these multi-man arts onto priority targets, it's going to be very difficult. I mean, they should opt to just seed this dragon. It's not really worth fighting for. It's an Ocean Soul, yes, but at this point in the game, it's not a massive thing. It's not, especially, it doesn't change very much of how you want to fight. But, I mean, I guess the main point...
That looks like exactly what they're doing. They do fire the rocket off to try and steal it, but it's just a little bit too early.
Yeah, close on that. And I mean, this point is just the whole goal is just not to get picked, not to be the one meandering into the jungle for no reason. There's nothing to get in that side. Just stay, hug your towers, and they wait for that inhibitor respawn, and then you need to look to pressure. But I really want to give credit where it's due to some of the players who have been playing really well, but under the shadow. Red has been 2 levels up all game. Kiri is finally starting to catch up level 17, but Red's been 18 for a long time now. You have Utility Monster, who is 3 levels up onto War Leader. That is a lot of extra gold and stats that aren't showing up on the scoreboard just because of good farming and team fighting and actually maintaining your pace throughout the game.
And right now we can already see Zach is moving up to try and split up this fight.
Look at that damage.
Yeah, it's pretty devastating. Like it's not insignificant at all.
I mean, yeah, to take that much off of a tank's health, I mean, there isn't really any MR built up. I mean, Zach's building more for like a damaged tank kind of threat where he just wants to go in and pressure with the amount of damage he does. He's not really trying to be a full tank like Maokai is, but yeah, I mean, if Lily can have a big impact in these fights, you have to imagine that there's a way back in there for RLS.
I feel like if Lilia is able to get a nice bowling ball, get a good number of members of RLS, good number of members of YUBI, then they should be able to take them down. Right now we can see that they played that siege very well, being extra careful, making sure not to engage too hastily. So YUBI was not quite able to crack the base at this point.
Absolutely, and if you're RLS, you have to be communicating. How do we win this fight? How do we punish YUBI for their aggression and make sure that we have an avenue to win? And the answer to that should be Civilox needs to be the first one who dies. His damage, his pressure, getting into these, really preventing those zones of control from Fusion is really hampering their ability to just kind of run through the rest of the fight. So if Civilox goes down without getting a multi-man ultimate, that's your real hope. So if you're Kiri, that's who you need to be looking at.
Oh no, Kiri, you are a little bit too far out. You're getting pulled back in by the Zach. There are 4 members of YUBI sitting up in that top side. Oh, that is absolutely terrifying.
Absolutely. 35 seconds on the clock, 3 minutes to Elder, 17 seconds till Baron, which is clearly going to be the option they're going to choose to fight around. And you once again have Fusion kind of meandering around. That's who they're looking for.
Fusion's a little bit on the wrong side. We do see an engage in this choke point right here. Fusion does see their target. They do manage to get good pick control. However, it's not going to matter as Utility Soul does manage to take down Pengu Soul, so that's going to be Ari taken out of the fight. There's just too much tank, too much CC on the side of YUBI, and they just start shredding through the rest of the members of RLS. That is going to be them just getting picked off one by one. The wild growth on Jinx just wasn't enough. She's trying so hard to do damage, but isn't quite able to, and that is going to be game as YUBI manages to pick up the win over rapidly losing Sanity.
Oh my god. I mean, YUBI's just, they're just a good investment at this point, man. They have consistently managed to come back from every early game deficit that they find themselves in, and they're just the best team fighting team in the league, and you got to give credit where it's due. These guys can play a team fight and can play a mid game, and once again, that has brought them victory against one of the other, I would say, heavy contenders in the league.
Absolutely. The RLS had a very strong showing at the beginning, but unfortunately, they were not able to overcome YUBI's economic policy, as we can see that they are just absolutely phenomenal at keeping a level head, finding their avenues for victory, knowing their win conditions, and are just playing around the map, being like, it's fine, we got this. Yes, we gave up 5 kills to the Jinx right at the beginning of the game, but it's okay. We're good.
I mean, that should never be a we're good, but I guess for YUBI it is. But, I mean, there's definitely a lot of takeaways for this game. I mean, if you're RLS, you have to understand that you paid that first 10 minutes of the game is about as well as you could, and just needs to clean up those small mistakes, those small over-aggressions, brain lapses where you're not fully focused, and then as soon as you fall out, someone's giving over a pick, someone's giving over a shutdown to a carry they shouldn't, and I mean, that's just what happens when you have Jeff God, who's been such a big threat in all of these games. I mean, this man is basically getting away with high bay robbery, being able to play Vayne into Jinx and still manage to have as much damage and pressure that he does. But I mean, you can't give him these free kills, these free golds in the early game, and he'll punish you every time.
Exactly, and with that, we'll be right back, folks. Stick around with an interview with Universal Basic Income.
Hello, folks. Chris Edgeworth here with our third interview tonight, and I am joined by Bill the Pony from the victorious Universal Basic Income. How are you feeling after the win?
Sup? Doing pretty good. They got to stop letting us do this.
Yeah, truly, you can't keep getting away with it. Like,
We really can't.
If this game was a sign of anything, it's that they truly can't keep getting away with this, because we'll talk about how it went one way and then went a decisive 180-degree other way. But let's start before the game. You know, what was the prep like coming into a matchup like RLS, a team that has been in the league for so long? You folks know each other, have measured up against each other before. What's it like prepping for a team like this? And who won the coveted LOL sketch diff in the pregame lobby?
Well, I'll start with the little sketch part because that's the easiest for me to answer. We did not do well, but I think there might have been a leaking of comms on the other side of it because they seemed to be getting it real quick when they were drawing. So I was a little concerned about that going into the game. But in terms of prepping against RLS, I mean, YUBI as a team has played against them a long time. They've been around for a while. We know them pretty well. So I think we know typically what we want to knock out for them and what we're targeting in terms of our composition. But of course, you know, the Fusion over there is one of their star players, so we wanted to make sure not to, you know, give them 6 kills early in the game or anything like that.
Yeah, that would make things quite difficult if you were to do such a thing, especially when
you would
they
think.
had a
You would
jinx.
think.
Yeah. So let's dial in a little bit more on that draft angle. So we do see the swapping of the Jinx, getting the Jinx again in the game, which is always something that I'm not a big fan of right now. I just think that people underestimate it. It's just like, I wish people would just ban it until it gets fixed. But you folks were able to handle it, so props to you there. Let's talk about though the for fun flex that you folks were able to pull off with the Maokai and the Janna. Any chance that we were gonna see the coveted red Janna?
Well, I've played Janna and Maokai so far this season, so it's definitely a flex for me. I think it's a little less clear. I don't think Red has played Maokai yet, and he definitely hasn't played Janna. And of course, they patched out what was that quick fad of the Janna top roaming top with Smite. So ultimately, it wasn't really all that serious of a flex outside the Maokai. Once we picked our Janna, it was pretty obvious, I think, who was going where. But we still decided to swap in the draft just for fun because we didn't have enough fun playing LOL sketch because they're cheaters.
Yeah, and then of course the outcome of that being that we were all subjected to having to bear witness to 36 minutes of a Maokai and Malphite laning against each other, which is basically pain.
Yeah, I really look forward to going back and watching that.
Yeah, so shouts out to Kiri and to Red for having the patience, the mental fortitude to put up with such mental taxing gameplay. It's just a battle of fingers up there. It's just full all out, just thinking, acting. These high pressure matchups.
Yeah, and I think Maokai the matchup is favored towards Maokai. So I think in terms of the smashing buttons and hitting faces against walls or rocks in this case, I think it does go towards Maokai a little bit because of his passive being so strong.
Let's talk about your lane. So as we talked about earlier, it would be truly unfortunate if you were to have, say, a Jinx that comes back to your lane up 6 kills on you. So what was that like? And how did you manage to make it not matter?
Well, we had this opportunity because Lilia and Utility Monster were fighting in the river. So we had this opportunity early to kind of pinch Lulu and Jinx when they got out of position. And so it looked really good. But then all of a sudden, it's like Jeff was looking into the headlights or something. And despite getting us condemned, the fight just didn't seem to go our way. and that kind of snowballed with a few other early plays. So at first it looked kind of like the Ford Fusion was going to win against Jeff.
Not again.
Yeah, not again. Unfortunately this time, or fortunately this time, it won't knock him out for part of the season. But yeah, unfortunately we lost some early pressure. I'm still pretty new with Janna in lane. It's a lot easier to play her in team fights. In lane, it's a little bit harder, especially with an AD carry that's got such short range, because we can't really trade. But I'm trying to give enough pressure to allow Vayne just to farm, or waiting for our jungler to all in. So unfortunately, when we finally got our jungler, it did not go our way.
And to the point I was making earlier, talking about letting the Jinx into the game, you folks obviously seemed prepared for it, and Jeff must have chosen to pull out the Vayne in this. Well, talk to me a little bit about that, if you would, and especially considering this is him trying to exercise the demon that is represented by RLS Fusion.
Yeah, the latest mid patch that came through makes it so that Jinx is a little bit less oppressive, especially earlier in the lane. Once you get to higher levels, I think it evens out your cooldowns, or whatever it was. I don't know. I'm not an AD carry main, but anyway, so we're not as afraid. Whereas before it was pretty much always picking Jinx or Zeri, but there seems to be a lot more options now, which I think will make the bot lane a lot more interesting.
Yeah, I mean, hell, Faker pulled out Kai'Sa mid and LCK, so you know. Seems like there's a lot more things possible. You know, that's an AD carry. We did see Xayah in the last game. Something I expect to see more of, as people I think realize that she is, you know, rather playable. So anyway, Bill the Pony, thank you so much for joining us for this interview. Before we step away, though, I do want to give you the opportunity for any final thoughts.
I mean, ultimately, there's only one 2007 Ford Fusion, and despite Escape's best attempt, I don't think he's an Escape. I don't think he's a Fusion. I think he's more like a Ford Fiesta. And he took a siesta the second half of the game. So fortunately, we got to send him back to the mechanic. Jeff is feeling great. A few bruises here or there, but ultimately just ran right over that Ford Fusion. And so we're feeling pretty happy. But seriously, guys, stop letting us get away with this, because it's absurd. Thank you very much, Chris.
Thank you. All right, well, that's enough from us, folks. We're going to take a short break and be back with our final game of the night, so don't go anywhere.
little bit of light, trying to find my heart. Funny when I break out a lifestyle dark. Honey when I write, get a tight flow spark. What a psycho chart, playing dice, go start. Oh, who are you? Better know yourself, know your soul, gotta know your wealth. Slow your roll, get a hold, don't melt, and don't you fall when I feel like hell. Well, who am I? Am I me? I'm not the one you wanna fuck with. Late nights messing up my sleep, so I'm flustered. Taking out aggression with my pen because I trust it. Writing, trying to get myself a lamb color cuss for the game. Leave him hanging by his chain, click bang. Feeling rage, feeling fire in my brain, feeling insane. And it's glory, feel the flame. 45 to my brain, praying for it, please fail. No glory. Up my sleep, so I'm flustered. Taking out aggression with my pen because I trust it. Fighting, trying to get myself a lamb color custard.
Remember, I used to be that kid that every day would get rejected. Y'all got my story, the glory was painted on the song. I'm mortified but feel immortal. This pen to this paper always open up different portals. It's I and me, it's me and I'm by myself. I'm down the ride, I'm taking on the tide. Size of tsunamis touching the sky. I got a quick scan, it's time to move. Leaving everything else behind, I got something to prove. I'm just riding away, no I ain't running away. I got memories set, oh I'm just finding my place where I belong to. Feeling glory in my soul.